podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This is it, Ed, the big time, big boy football, European competition. How buzzing are you?
Oh, it's off the chart, mate.
Yeah.
Off the chart. I had a look at FC Astana's squad.
Yep.
Didn't recognise any of them.
That's not entirely a surprising turn of events,
They do have an Icelandic international who made the Euro 2016 squad, but didn't make the World Cup squad.
Right. Yeah, good story.
Their executive director is English, although he had no football career of note.
Does that mean they had like 1% of Iceland's male population or something? Or it's always the way, isn't it, with
something
Iceland?
Like that. It's almost more Icelandic than Kazakhstani based on populations.
I don't know. My general approach to the Europa League group is to go full Shearer and remain steadfastly uninformed. Not because I'm not interested. I am, actually. It's kind of interesting playing teams we've never heard of, but just because having won the Europa League a couple of seasons ago, this season, like that felt like it might be something, that Europa League win. It might be a kind of, the catalyst towards something. This one just feels like, well, no, this is the redundant nature of Manchester United Football Club. Now,
yeah, well, true, but it also offers a route into the Champions League. It might well be United's best route into the next season's Champions League.
I don't know how to care about that. I just do not know how to care about it because, great, we'll be in the hooray! We'll be in the Champions League and maybe make a quarter final.
Well, but it's about development of the club. But if the club's going to move forward, then it needs to be in the Champions League.
But fluking or semi-fluking a Champions League place on the basis of, tournament football rather than earning it over the course of a season like that. That's kind of what I meant about last time. Last time felt like it might be part of some sort of development, but it doesn't. I feel like it's very hard to say, okay, you win the Europa League, which inherently is a kind of luck-intensive way to get there, compared to a league format. You're not really... That's not part of a sustainable rebuild towards Champions League football, is it?
Depends whether you can pass that into proper investment in the transfer market in order to build a squad that's suitable for the Champions League, I suppose. And I guess we also semi-know the answer to that one. Anyway, it'd be super. We're previewing the preview here, won't it? Aren't we? But
good point.
I think the most interesting thing, in a way, is how Solskjaer takes to this tournament, because he's kind of hinted that the kids will get a chance, and in fact, an insult to the tournament already suggested that Alexis Sanchez would only get to play in the Europa League if he stayed. So, it looks like there'll be a lot of changes, which is one way of taking it. And I think a lot of supporters would support that one in the push to make it legitimately into the Champions League through the league route. But there's a lot to say that United ought to be one of the favourites for this tournament, and therefore could push hard to make it happen. Maybe what will happen is a lot of changes until the knockout stages, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, because the thing about changes...
Assuming we make it past FC Astana, Partizan and Alkmaar.
That's what I was going to say. That making a lot of changes at this point isn't necessarily about not taking the competition seriously, is it? It's also about the genuine level of competition, which, I'm speaking in completely assumption-packed, totally uninformed way about a team.
Why change the habit of a lifetime?
It might be great, but you would, given the relative... financial muscle and historical, even in the last few seasons, level of these teams, you would expect that United, a substantially weakened United, could do the business against.
I was
at home.
I can't remember which journalist it was now. One of the journalists, one of the ones that hasn't been recruited by the Athletic, so the B team, was suggesting that Wolves should make a lot of changes in order to concentrate on their league campaign. And I was like, so Wolves are going to make a lot of changes to concentrate on their league campaign in order that they might be able to qualify for next season's Europa League, because that's really what they're aiming to do.
I remember there was talk about that in, maybe it was Benitez era Liverpool, but there was, obviously they won the Champions League, but I remember that being a thing people talked about Champions League games and potential rotation ahead of big league games. And literally, you're rotating to try and make sure you're back in this competition next season. It's all very bizarre. But anyway,
should we talk about real football?
Sure. Premier League, which is the best league in the world, and Britain's the best country. But enough about Jamie Vardy. I feel that might be horrendously unfair.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know he's like that, although we suspect he might be.
Yeah, and there's
given
incidents.
His predilections for a bit of comedy racism. He was actually reasonably good. Leicester overall, I thought, were incredibly disappointing. Given top billing by us, no least. And he was probably one of their better ones, their most dangerous outlet. Despite having 60% of the possession, was knocking the ball over the top for Vardy to chase, and Lindelof struggled to cope with Vardy's pace.
As almost every central defender in the country does.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and it's an effective tactic. Almost effective tactic. I mean, it's kind of a strange game in a way, because United weren't in a great deal of trouble in this game ever, really. There were moments when it looked like Leicester might cause De Gea some trouble. In fact, he made one good save with his feet. I want to say with his feet at one point. And Leicester had a loss of the ball in sort of for most of midfield up to about 30 yards from goal, and couldn't really convert that into anything sort of substantial. And United defended pretty solidly. McTominay was very good in a sort of defensive midfield role, pretty aggressive, getting around the pitch.
Man of the match,
and probably deserved it. Rashford sort of toiled up front. Daniel James, willing runner. Pereira was awful. Matic was awful. God, why? Just why? Because of the nature of United's midfield with no Pogba, it was kind of the thing that was missing from United's midfield play was the kind of intelligent use of the ball, as would be expected, I think, given who was actually in that midfield. So all in all, it felt pretty comfortable for United without United ever really creating very much at all.
Well, they created almost literally nothing, right? I mean, there was a penalty and then a bunch of not anywhere close to half chances.
1.1 being XG and 76 of that being the penalty.
So that means basically a few pot shots from range and a few pot shots in crowded areas in the box. Yeah.
And I mean, this is going to be... and this isn't even one of those ones where Leicester was sitting back and we were pushing. This is one of the ones where we were sitting back and trying to play on the break.
But it's
against the Leicester side that was having an off day, I think.
But it's got to be said that a United side without Luke Shaw, I mean, he's not been great, but his replacement is Ashley Young.
Might be an upgrade.
I don't think Ashley Young is an upgrade on Luke Shaw, Red. And nor do you. More to the point. You've got Ashley Young at left back. There's no Pogba, who's our most important player by an insane margin in terms of especially chance creation and also just taking long-range shots and stuff. And no Anthony Martial has been absolutely central. Was Jesse Lingard injured or dropped?
Ill, I think.
Yeah, so unavailable. I mean, given basically no Pogba, no Martial, and a United win against Leicester City, that is like beat the drums, sing from the rooftops. We're going to win the league. I mean, not win the league, but it's an absolutely enormous 3 points under those circumstances.
It was a huge win. Huge. Like that sixth place ain't going to win itself, and this was a big one. So, especially given the quality of Leicester's midfield. I mean, Tielemans, Chowdhury came in. Perhaps a bit of surprise that he came in, but he was okay, and he's always a willing runner from midfield, isn't he? James Maddison. I mean, He was David Brent in the Leicester manager was sort of bigging him up after the game. I actually thought, I think a lot of James Maddison, I think he's going to turn into a really good player, and his ability to carve out chances for his teammates is almost second to none in the Premier League. But I didn't think he was actually very good in this game. And
did he play wide left? Did he play left of midfield?
Sort of, drifting in off the left. I wouldn't say he was playing classic winger, but he can play a lot of positions, Maddison, and he's a very flexible player. He's very creative on the ball, but just not his best game.
Yeah, and the fact that we got a win, and especially the fact that Leicester created absolutely nothing by way of substantial chances shows you that they, by this, you have to say sort of almost necessarily, they had an off day. How was Harry Maguire in this game?
Yeah, fine. Actually, I think it was his best game for United. So, and most of the time, Vardy was trying to isolate Lindelof, I'd say, who didn't have a bad game, by the way, Lindelof. I thought he defended pretty well. There were just a few hairy moments when he's got Jamie Vardy steaming into one of the channels. I thought Maguire was very solid, led the back four line well. Didn't have any bad moments because there's been a couple this season, and one step further forward towards sort of integrating himself into this team.
Yeah, I did the full-time Devils preview for this game, and one of the things I was thinking about, I can't remember if I even talked about this on the show last week, but the building of a central defensive partnership, the people were like even talking about dropping Lindelof and replacing him with Tuanzebe. I feel like a lot of the mistakes that have happened this season, or as you described it last week, had a quarter of a mistake, have been about partnership building and the fact that it does take time for central defensive partnership to really find each other. And Maguire, in that first game, it was pretty clear that he was, going to fit in at the level, no problem. But still, in terms of nuance and reliability, you want a partnership to have time to build, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Tuanzebe is now first choice reserve in central defence. It's pretty clear, and he actually came on, but in a central defensive midfield role, which a few people have said, oh, perhaps he could do that because he's kind of comfortable on the ball. I think he's going to be a pretty limited player there. I don't think it's necessarily natural. Central defence is going to be his position, but there'll be time for him to push and be given a chance. He may well play against Astana on Thursday night. We'll see. It's probably a good one for him to start in for his first start of the season. No need to rush. I don't think there was any need to panic because Lindelof got out jumped by a 6'5" defender once. I mean, come on. and if this is the first choice, let them bed in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see where United go from here. It's a big result. It's obviously not like a spectacularly good performance. Rashford scored a penalty.
He did put it away nicely and nearly scored a free kick. And another one of the Twitterati's ammunition against him. But
beautiful.
That one off the crossbar. Yeah, good. Very nicely taken with his instep rather than the knuckleball.
I mean, it was a kind of insteppy knuckleball, though, wasn't it? It wasn't like a Beckham instep, was it? It was kind of had a little bit of knuckleball whip on, kind of dip or whatever.
Yeah. It was the off cutter, not the full knuckleball.
Yeah, exactly. Talking of which, are we going to do 10 minutes? Could we do 10 minutes on the cricket again, please? Oh.
Hey, how we came so back to be victorious, morally victorious in the Ashes.
Well, it was a draw. It's just cricket's weird. So, for people that don't know, 25 days worth of game ends in a draw, except that a draw counts as a win for one of the teams now. But that team lost the last one, so they were celebrating with champagne just after they lost.
Yeah, it was totally bizarre that the team had just lost the game was celebrating
what a performance
victory in a drawn series because a different team won 2.5 years ago.
What a performance with the ball, though, on that last day. Absolutely beautiful. Anyway, the United's performance with the ball, not bad against Leicester, but I don't know. It's a massive result and a massive win. And they didn't concede a lot of chances, which is big news. But chance creation, as you would expect with the players that were missing from that team,
It's a bit
absolutely
of a problem,
abysmal.
yeah. And like, this was one of those games where Juan Mata was given a chance at number 10, and unfortunately for many of us who have said, "Oh, Juan Mata should get a chance at number 10" over the years, he's so rarely sort of taken that chance, and this is one of those ones where he wasn't able to dictate any of the pattern of the game. And Pereira drifted inside quite a bit, as he kind of is wont to do, and just didn't do anything at all. I'm struggling to see it with him, honestly. I'd like him to do well because there's good moments, and he's a young player and he's been at the club a very long time, and he's technically gifted, but his ability to impose himself on a game at Premier League standards is pretty much zero, I think.
Yeah, it's a problem. And this game, the win is brilliant, and the performance is everything that we thought was going to be the case for this team, especially without Pogba in it. I mean, I don't know. I know I go on about this all the time, but the people that are like, "Oh, Pogba could just do one. We'll be fine without him. No Pogba deal is fine. No deal Pogba transfer. Just give him away. It'll be fine. Nothing bad will happen." There's a certain kind of a logic that seems to be fairly widespread in various different issues around the globe at the moment.
It is just dumb. Sorry, it's just dumb. I mean, you get a midfield like this, which just doesn't have anything about it. People will go, "Oh, look, they won," and United were okay. Well, United were okay in a defensive sense because that's much easier to organise than the creative attacking piece, which just nothing came from that midfield at all in an attacking sense.
I mean,
and that's what you'd get if you stripped Pogba out this side.
The penalty, the timing of the penalty makes a big difference, doesn't it? In terms of there's not quite the need to press so aggressively to try and create something. So you would expect perhaps chance creation to dry up a little bit, just like you expect a team that concedes first is probably less likely to have the the team that scores first is then less likely to have the lion's share of possession because the game situation means that they don't have to.
That is one of the legitimate criticisms of the XG model, that it doesn't really take account of patterns of play and game management like that. But this is United at Old Trafford.
Yeah, but an injury ravaged United. I keep saying injury ravaged. Just because there's 3 players out, you wouldn't say that's injury ravaged. But one of them's Paul Pogba, and so any word on when Pogba's going to be back? Do we know any of that?
No, I don't know. Although it could well be that Diego Dallo is back for the Astana game. It doesn't look like Pogba will be, but I don't think they've given a definitive timeline on it.
Okay, because don't care about Astana, but West Ham at the weekend away at West Ham, you definitely want Pogba there. Obviously, because we're rubbish without him. Another player that we are rubbish without, at least as long as he hasn't succumbed to a semi-permanent version of the yips, which, given he's only made 1 mistake so far this season, basically doesn't look like he's quite chucking him in liability style as he was at the end of last season. But he's captain, leader, legend, or at least contract signer legend. David De Gea has signed a ting, and he is going to be Manchester United's goalkeeper for a really long time now, we would imagine. Little Instagram video saying, "Ignore the rumours. This is my home. This is my theatre." It's like, this is the only place they'll pay me the money I want to do the job because everyone else has got a keeper. No, he loves the club. Loves the club, that boy. Salford born and bred.
That's why he mulled over this contract for such a short period of time. Yeah,
just exactly like Paul Scholes. He basically just said to Florentino Perez, "You want me to sign for Madrid? You're going to have to buy Manchester United," or whatever it was that Scholes said to Milan.
Yeah,
the Inter Milan guy.
That's right. I like that quote. But let's just hope we got the best of David De Gea. Focus. The yips is gone. Confidence. And certainly having a more solid back four in front of him should help, right?
Yeah. Well, it has so far this season, hasn't it? Two clean sheets.
Well, yeah, as many as he got all last season or something like that. I don't think that's quite right, but and yeah, let's hope so. Because if we have that David De Gea back, then obviously he's one of the best in the world. A lot of people before this were going, "Oh, maybe it's the chance to move on," and was like, are we sure about that? Because the
Yeah.
economics of bringing in a keeper of similar quality would be in the 50 to 70 million pound range, right? Well, Kepa,
More
who's
than that.
now in the Spain side ahead of David De Gea, we'll see how long that lasts, but he was 70 million. So huge deal United would have to put together to bring in a comparable keeper. The only upside I can see is that perhaps you could go find a keeper that is more fitting with the style that Solskjaer might want to play one day, which is to play out from the back, and you might have a keeper a bit more comfortable with his the ball at his feet. Not that De Gea is absolute ringer there at all. He can cope. He's not a sweeper keeper, but that's all put to bed now, and let's just hope that we get 4 really good years out of De Gea and perhaps more.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I have to say, though, from the Spanish perspective, whilst I genuinely make fun of De Gea and how terrible he's been, I mean, he was a massive part of why we didn't qualify for the Champions League last season, but he's also basically the only reason we've ever qualified for the Champions League since Fergie retired. So, we'll cut him he's got plenty of credit in the bank. But if I was the Spain manager, given his performance level for his national team, I am not in the least bit surprised he's been replaced at that level, because I don't think that's just about Kepa being better with his feet.
No. I mean, I'm not sure that Kepa's performances have been that good, at least at club level, but he's a young keeper, and perhaps they felt the time was right for a change because, De Gea has made quite a few mistakes at international level. Anyway, didn't make any mistakes in this game, made one good save that I can remember. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else of note in this game. Tahith Chong came on for a sort of cameo at the end and had some good moments. Does what he does, which is taking on people and being dynamic and trying to play 1-2s in and around the box. Nothing particularly came off for him, but I thought he didn't look fazed by the situation and just played his normal game and could well start against Astana on Thursday night. And I think a lot of people would be very excited to see that.
Absolutely. Do you know, as you pointed out to me, not a single, for the first time ever, no one who took a wicket in the first innings took a wicket in the second innings. In our Ashes test, so we're just going to be little. Just since you won't let me have 10 minutes on it, I'll just be like in between segments. There'll just be like 2 minutes of cricket chat.
The England and Wales Cricket Board put out a photo today of all the players in the dressing room after the game having a beer, and they're mixed of Australians and Englishmen. This is the spirit of cricket. What they didn't show is after Warner had had a couple of bevies, him lamping Jack Leach, Jofra Archer chucking a ball at
Matthew Wade's head. I mean, Jofra Archer bowled another absolutely electric spell. Only this time, like when he knocked Steve Smith out, he was trying to unsettle him and get him out. When he was trying to knock Matthew Wade out, he was just trying to knock Matthew Wade out because that seemed like a fun thing to do.
Didn't take any wickets in that spell, but
it was good to
fearsome.
watch. Yeah, he's such an exciting player. I was happy for Jack Leach getting a bunch of wickets. I was happy for Joe Root as well. 2 wickets and a bunch of catches and a fine captaincy performance, I thought, in the field. Although the idea that the plan that they've tried literally every time for Steve Smith finally works and that's a stroke of genius, I'm not just like, not totally sure about that.
What are we going to do? We're going to go to the leg slip. Yeah.
Anyway,
enough cricket chat. I have got nothing else to say on the Leicester game. It was good and entertaining for about 15 minutes and then pretty dull.
Yeah, really.
To be honest.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be a lot more lively against West Ham at the weekend. It normally is.
Yeah, so should we've talked about David De Gea signing a new contract. Do anyone know the details of that contract? Lots of leaks about money and things like that percolating out.
No, I mean, the last one came out that he would be around about the top level at the club. So, around about 300,000 a week. Although I have no doubt that it'll be £400,000 by tomorrow and 500 and 600 and £1 million a week. And it'll be bigger than the Sanchez deal. And, United signing over the rights to Old Trafford to him within a week.
There was a time when I would have thought that was a very reasonable thing for United to do, given how central he was to the idea of anything even approaching United being any good. I mean, he's had an amazing... I was thinking about that. And there's something really nice about the fact that I kind of feel a bit sorry for him that we've been the shambles version of United has been most of his career, and looks like it's going to be basically all of his career. I really hope we win something before he leaves. A bit like when Fergie used to really hope that we won the FA Cup for Rio, although then not play anyone and then play Darren Gibson in midfield every time. But anyway, I really hope we win a league title before David De Gea leaves United, but I suspect that's not going to happen. And it seems a great shame that a player of that quality will end up with such a relatively modest trophy cabinet at the end of his career because of us.
Yeah. Well, maybe they've done the gentleman's handshake and he's off to Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain or Juventus next summer for a fixed fee. You never know.
Possibly so, yeah.
We'll see whether that one starts leaking out.
If that's the truth, though, if that's the truth, and he's announced the contract deal with us, this is my theatre, don't ignore the rumours, and then he leaves next summer, I'm going to be miffed. I'm going to feel hard done by emotionally.
It seems not because he could have, if he was going to do that move, he could have done it in January, which is coming out very quickly. So Anyway, that's done. I don't think there's any other United news this week. We are recording, so this is the patriarchy. We are recording as United women play Arsenal women.
Yeah,
I suspect we wouldn't have done that if the men's team had been playing Arsenal. So shame on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
United started without a couple of their summer signings. So Jackie Groenen, who's very good. Apparently, I only saw the highlights, but very good against City at the weekend. And Lotta Ostveg, the new left back, replacing Alex Greenwood. So, a couple of enforced changes there. Playing a very good Arsenal side. 74 minutes in, and it's still 0-0.
The champions, Arsenal, aren't they? They won last season, I don't believe.
Have in Midema one of the world's best forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's such a difficult start to the season, isn't it? Man City and Arsenal in the Women's League does not get tougher than that. So it'll be interesting to see how they do once that period is over and they enter the sort of more normal range. A bit like a newly promoted team starting their newly promoted men's team starting their Premier League season by playing City and Liverpool, isn't it?
Well, not us. I mean,
we're not very good, Ed, anymore. Manchester United are just not very good.
The men's team, that is.
Yeah, that's true.
The women's team seems all right. Tough start, but that's the club's heading in the right direction, and the good business over the summer. Brought 5 players in. Were 2 enforced basically, with Alex Greenwood leaving and Chamberlain, the keeper, being pregnant, so I'll miss the whole season. And then 3 players to strengthen a squad that's just full of youngsters, really, and so it's a 12-team league, I think. 12. No, I don't know. Should know this one, but I think it's a 12-team league, and anywhere in the top half, I think, is a good result at the end of the season.
Yeah, excellent result at the end of the season, surely. Promoted team. Even though the badge says Manchester United, but, well, first of all, that doesn't mean anything anymore, but secondly, that's completely, they are an expansion franchise, Ed. They're an expansion franchise. Or maybe are you only an expansion team for one season? Or maybe, I don't know. I don't really understand American sport. Anyway, should we take some Twitter questions before we talk about West Ham?
Let's do it. We took about 400 last week, so perhaps 1 or 2 fewer this time.
Well, last week was you called the episode AQA, and it took me ages. I thought have you spelled AMA wrong? And then I realised it might stand for all questions answered. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Did I get that wrong?
No, I believe it. I think I must have heard it because I worked out what it meant. But AMA is like ask me anything, isn't it? That's the standard 21st century internet speak.
You see, I'm old.
Yeah.
I probably did get that wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think AQA means all questions answered. I mean, that was technically wrong, though, because there were loads of questions which we didn't answer.
Yeah. All right, Greg Seward on Twitter says, "It's Fred, the midfielder we've been missing." I didn't talk about him, but he came on against Leicester. Don't remember him doing anything, but he is alive.
Fred is a midfielder who has been missing. Is that the same? I don't know.
I think that might be it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. Oh dear. The mighty Ever Pigeon says, even if Leicester's short in midfield, wouldn't it be best to take Matic out of the back line? Yes.
Honestly.
Out the back. Sorry, not out of the back line. Out the back like old Yeller. Yes. I'm not sure I'd advocate actually shooting him. But him being anywhere near the team is just pointless. I mean, I don't know what's happened to him physically. Whether he's just played too much football over his career, or he's not been looking after himself, or what it is, but he looks totally gone. I actually think he would struggle in the Championship just because of the pace of the game. He wouldn't be able to get in touch with it. He might do all right in a slower paced league where he can have some time on the ball.
I mean, they always do say that the Championship you have more time on the ball than when you come to the Premier League. It's a bit faster on the ball. But one thing, whether he might be good in another league, that's a theoretical conversation. What is an absolutely factual conversation is that he is no good in the Premier League, and not in any manner whatsoever is that surprising. Like, he's been terrible. He's been terrible for a really long time. Also, he was chipping off. He was chirpy during the international break, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Like somehow he's been, done a wrong un because he's not in the team.
I mean, I think it's because you're absolutely rubbish, Nemanja, to be honest.
It seems to be the logical answer to me, but Manu's having none of it. Yeah. Joey Mangini, friend of the show, says, is Daniel James a real deal or just having a great run that turns into another Januzaj Macheda, etc.?
I mean,
he wasn't actually that good against Leicester, to be honest. So, maybe that's it. Maybe he's burnt bright and now he's fading away already.
I think what you said is much more worthy of an ouch than what Joey said, because it's a completely. I don't think it's an ouch to be like, is he another Januzaj or Macheda? Januzaj had a really good full season basically before
Moyes ruined him.
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't Van Gaal that ruined him.
Yeah, exactly. And Moyes loved him, took him to Sunderland, tried to be his father. So we just don't know the answer to that question. I mean, there is nothing to suggest so far. Daniel James has scored 4 goals already, which is phenomenal. And I think he scored for Wales as well during the international break. So he's absolutely on fire. But there's nothing in the performances that make you think this is entirely replicable necessarily, unless it turns out that he can score regular screamers, which would be great, obviously. But yeah, like you say, wasn't particularly great against Leicester, and apart from the goals, has not been that great at all this season.
No, and look, this should be a season in which he's allowed to learn, play a few games, be an impact sub, and there not be pressure on him. But because of how thin our squad is and the fact that Alexis has left, which is good, and the fact that no other forwards are brought in, means that he's going to play an awful lot more games than probably would be best for a player, in his sort of development stage. And we'll see whether he sinks or swims with that, because some players really take to it. But it might be, there'll be difficult moments, I suspect, for him this season.
Yeah, but the answer to the question is nobody could possibly know at this point.
Darren Greer says, how much do you think people would be losing their shit if we weren't currently in the top 4? Yeah, you see, I think the essential problem here is that we live in our listeners, especially the listeners who send in questions on Twitter, live in the Twitter bubble, and it is a hive of scum and villainy, including many of our listeners. No, and it's the bottom half of the internet. Everything that is wrong with the world is represented, in 10 times magnification on Twitter, including the idiots and the yerdas of our fan base, So I don't think people at Old Trafford are losing their shit. People who've been there and watched United for years and years are not. I think we all know where we are as a team right now, which is we are trying to develop. There is at least a plan to move forward. Now, whether the manager's good enough, whether there is enough investment, like lots of questions around that, but there is a plan. And I'm not sure there was last season, but there is now. That's where we are.
I mean, the only thing I would disagree with about that is the sort of implied characterization that United's online fan base are more or are less patient and knowledgeable than the people that go to Old Trafford. Which
no, there's just more of them.
Yeah,
the internet.
Yeah. I'd say the percentages probably break down very similarly, to be honest. But yeah, no, I think I think it's going to be a long, difficult season, and I think people are ready to melt down based on the last few years. And people have drawn, during the Mourinho era, people drew tribal lines a lot, and there's a lot of people waiting to say "I told you so." In all directions.
I actually, to be honest, I thought I'd get a few more "told you so's" when United won at the weekend, because I did mention that with Pogba being out, this was the midfield that many people had been seeking. But I only got a couple of those, and it was a bit of an obvious comeback. But didn't get too many. Anyway,
maybe they watched the game and they were like, "Oh, do you know what? Fair enough. He's got a point."
Yeah. Jamie Rubinski says, "Have you noticed that Ollie looks about 40 years older than he did in January?" See, the thing is, I was thinking about this before I saw this question with Ollie, because he is looking quite old. But I actually think people with a baby face feel like they're aging faster, because as the aging process comes in, it destroys the baby face. And he looks a bit like if you got Ollie aged 12 and you put him through face act like 6 or 7 times. That's what he looks like.
But to answer your question, without any shadow of a doubt, he looks older than he did when he got to United. I remember seeing like Tony Blair before and President Obama as well, like the difference before and after. I mean, Trump's going to look younger because he's done so little work in office, but that's a different question. Just threw that in there to upset the 3 people that have somehow stuck this out this long. Stop listening! Stop listening to us! Anyway, my desperate plea for fewer listeners there.
Actually, last week we had a few interesting commenters on our Facebook page, which doesn't get a lot of love from us, to be fair.
I always tend to check in with it, but I didn't this week, and I'm glad.
You see, I did in a rare moment. Probably good you didn't, because there was a long string between 2 people who started off calling us fucking idiots for suggesting that Souness may have some racial prejudice in his analysis of Paul Pogba and other black players, and carried on for quite some time before we'd caught it.
Have you deleted them all? Have you just
said people will not be coming back to our page again?
Okay, good. See ya. You'll be sorely missed. The Souness thing. I mean, the Moise Kean must have an attitude was, if you ever wanted to see something that you believed proved before your very eyes, that was proof of proof.
I mean, that's just awful. And of course, he was left out the subsequent Italy squad for apparently missing a team meeting with the under-21s in the summer, and it was a sort of pre-planned punishment, which gave fodder for all the people supporting Souness to go, see, Souness was right, he knew. No, that was awful from Souness, just awful. Every single, pre-baked prejudice about black players dating back to the 1970s, just shocking.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm sick of it.
Dan O says, with Big Day finally signing his contract, will Mr. Gea be entering next year's Eurovision Song Contest? I don't know. Was she a competitor for Spain before?
Don't you remember? Don't you not remember? Yeah. You're not.
I don't really watch it.
It's not about watching it. It's about being online enough to remember David De Gea's reaction, which was absolutely hilarious, where he was complaining about it being it's just a conspiracy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it did ring a bell, and I was like, did that happen? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was absolutely superb. #superb moments in MUFC Twitter. Life is so much better without Twitter. I can't even begin to tell you how much better my life's been since I don't have Twitter anymore. But there were like 20 amazing things that happened in Man United Twitter, and that was definitely one of them.
All right. So Daniel Dortega Zero says, "Why do you think none of Juan Mata's teammates have signed up for his common goal project? Do you think Phil Jones will do it after his next contract extension?"
It remains a bit of a mystery. This it's been interesting, the common goal thing, because on one hand there's been some lovely moments and some lovely participation, but uh, I do wonder if one might be a little bit disappointed by the kind of uptake. I mean, it's sort of unreasonable to expect people to support one particular charity. I'm sure lots of United players do vast amounts for loads and loads and loads of charities. I'm sure of that. So, just because they're not part of this, then who knows why that would be. But it always seemed very weird to me that Ander Herrera didn't sign up, since they were best mates.
Maybe they weren't. And yes, Phil Jones's new contract will be an 8-year contract to be signed sometime next season.
Jones 2023.
Here's one for you, Paul. Bob Priestley says, "Why is everyone so upset with everything all of the time?"
I know it's frustrating. I'm upset with it. Ironically, I am definitely banging my drum for the season of fun. Like, there's no being upset about United this season is such a waste of your energy, because it is I mean, of course we can, if you want to funnel that energy into genuine organised protests against the ownership, which attack them in the sponsors' pockets. And I'm not talking about getting hashtags trending on Twitter. I'm talking about boycotting everyone that's associated with United in a sponsorship capacity, cutting ties with MUTV, Sky, the works. If you want to do that, that's how you want to focus your energy, fair enough. But if it's complaining about the fact that the squad's thin, then I don't know what you're doing with your time. Basically, we're not very good. We're not going to be very good for a bit. That's the way it is.
Sucks to be us, basically, is what I think you're saying.
No,
anyway.
but we can have fun if we just embrace it and enjoy the bits that are fun.
Last question then from Benji C. Wood. Does one of Chong, Gomez, Greenwood need to go out alone, or even do a Sancho, or can we find enough game time for all three? Well, I suspect all three will have, at least some part to play on Thursday night. I think Greenwood's obviously closest to the first team. Ollie has said so. Chong played at the weekend a little bit, and Gomez nowhere to be seen, although we've talked quite a bit about him on this season's pods. He's doing very well at under 23 level. Looks like he's outgrown that, to be honest. And so a loan move might not be bad for him. Although, where is the question? Because, if it's physical development they're looking for rather than just playing development, I'm not sure that spending a season in the Championship getting battered is exactly what he needs.
And I feel like
but he does need games that aren't under 23.
This question specifically, sorry for interrupting you there, Ed, but it's just that this question specifically will be much better served in 2 podcasts' time, because we're playing Astana, West Ham, Rochdale in the League Cup, Arsenal, and then AZ away. And then Newcastle at home. So at the end of that run, we'll be much better placed to answer what the future's looking like, the sort of short-term future's looking like for Chong, Greenwood and Gomez.
No, that's right. And look, I think in a sense, I mean, I've seen some complaints that Ollie's sort of not walking the walk of playing younger players, because I think that even though he's playing Wan-Bissaka age 21, Daniel James age 21, Marcus Rashford age 21, Scott McTominay 22, that somehow he's they don't count, because I think we've seen Rashford for a long time, and McTominay's now sort of been in the team for the best part of a year, and the other two were bought for substantial money. So I suspect if they'd all come through the academy this year, we'd have a different approach, even though they're all very young still.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that of all the justified criticisms you can level at Solskjaer, that one is off the charts crazy.
Yeah, but it's a different reaction than if you say look at what's happening with Chelsea fans and Frank Lampard and Mount and Abraham and Tomori and so on, who've been integrated into the Chelsea side and doing all right.
Yeah, well, Tammy Abraham's on fire.
Yeah. I think I said on the podcast earlier this season, he looks like he's a bit shit. I've seen him for all of about 30 minutes, but.
So he looked pretty good against United.
Yeah, eat some of those words because he got a hat trick at the weekend. But the Chelsea fans have suddenly embraced that as what somehow being the identity of the club, which is interesting because for the last 15 years of Abramovich's reign, only John Terry had come through the youth ranks and made it into the first team for any real length of time.
Yeah, and it's early in the season, and Andres Pereira's played a lot in the team this season as well. He's not quite so young, but another academy product. Obviously, Jesse Lingard is in middle age now, but he's an academy product. Paul Pogba's an academy product, sort of. It's Martial's hardly a experienced an old stager, is he? So this team's got a very young outlook, and just because you're not putting every good teenager in every starting lineup, but obviously the fact that we've lost a few games, people start looking for solutions and maybe wondering whether Mason Greenwood isn't one of those, and I think he quite possibly is, and I'd like to see, out of all of those, Greenwood's the one I'd like to see get a lot of first team football this season at the top level. But talking of first team football not at the top level, how many of Chong, Greenwood and Gomez are going to start against Astana, Ed?
I would say Greenwood definitely, and possibly Chong. Gomez, no.
Okay. But do you think Gomez will start against Rochdale the week after?
Yeah. I think, yeah, for sure. If he's not starting against that, then he definitely needs to go out alone because he's not going to get any game time this season. What do you know about Astana?
Literally nothing. I made a conscious decision not to even look them up. Because I just thought, everyone that wants to look up their Wikipedia page can look up their Wikipedia page.
That's why I'm looking at their Wikipedia page right now. They're only 10 years old.
Okay.
Founded as Lokomotiv Astana.
Wait a minute.
Apparently that was a bit old school, so they changed it to just FC Astana in 2011.
So time before last we were in the Europa League, we played FC Midtjylland, who were formed after we won the treble. But now there's a team that's formed after we won the Champions League in Moscow that we're playing.
I know. They've won the domestic league 5 times in a row, not least because they're supported by the nation's sovereign wealth fund.
Ah.
So there you go.
Doesn't seem entirely fair.
I think in Kazakhstan, that's not the right term when it comes to the president. But we have
at least one Kazakhstani listener. That much I can guarantee.
Yeah, that's true. Mostly Kazakhstani players in the squad, a smattering of international stars: Antonija Rakovina, who's Serbian; Lukas Simonovic, who's Croatian; Ndumbali Mubele, who's from I think Togo, if I know my flags. DRC, sorry. Shocking.
What I'd like to know...
Shocking knowledge of flags there, Ed.
What I'd like to know at this point is, do you think it's better for the listeners, more respectful of the listeners' time, to say, if you want to know more about FC Astana,
just go to their Wikipedia page.
Or to read out their Wikipedia page to the listeners?
Look, let's see your lip. Yeah, I'm making the effort to read out the Wikipedia page. What have you done? Nothing.
It's true.
I was going to say pure analysis, but Shearer actually does research and has tried to make himself a better pundit. Unlike you,
most improved. No, this is a conscious decision. This is not a disrespect intended to Astana or Kazakhstan in any way. This is all disrespect to the Europa League. This competition does not deserve our attention and time. This is football detention.
All right, here's a quiz for you, Paul.
Right, okay.
Astana have a player from Curacao. And here's a quiz on your geography. Where is Curacao?
I think it's an island.
But that's true.
Is it a South Pacific? Is it a South Pacific?
Part of the planet?
South Pacific island?
Wrong answer. Oh. Wrong answer. It's in the Caribbean. It's about 40 miles north of the Venezuelan coast.
I outthought myself. I was like, it's a Caribbean island. And then I outthought myself because I thought it must be something vaguely challenging. All right. Yeah. Has it got a green in the flag? Is there green in the flag? Oh, okay.
No, right. It's sort of navy with 2 stars and a horizontal yellow stripe. Pretty solid flag, actually. I'd say a good 7 out of 10 for that flag.
Have you heard the Roman Mars 99% Invisible on vexillology?
I have not.
Yeah, you should watch his TED talk about it. It's absolutely brilliant. I'll send a link. If you haven't watched Roman Mars's TED talk on flags, you definitely should. Flag design is super interesting, turns out. Unlike the
Well,
Europa League, which is a bad competition for bad people and bad football teams.
Astana currently third in the Kazakhstani league. Yeah, it looks like the Kazakhstani league takes place over the summer because they're 24 games in.
Right.
4 wins out of the last 5. So we're playing an informed team, lads. Better shut up shop.
So are they. We've got 1 win out of the last 1.
That's true. Predictions for this game?
I don't have any. I don't have any, and nor will I at any point during the Europa League, because it is a bad competition for bad people.
All right, let's talk about...
Are you going to watch this game?
Of course I'm going to watch this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this game. I'm fascinated to see FC Astana, product of the Kazakhstani Sovereign Wealth Fund, in action.
I am also going to watch this game because it's one of the very few Europa League clashes this season that doesn't clash with work.
Yeah, because some of them kick off at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Last season, I think it was one of the Touchline Fracas people tweeted something like, this is when United were in the Champions League and Arsenal were in the Europa League. Some man are getting their team news while they're still at work. Can't relate. It's like, now we're getting our team news while we're still at work. One of these games is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something. Yeah, the away leg at Astana is 3:45 UK time. So some classic midweek football there.
No, lovely. Anyway, at the weekend, United play West Ham at the London Stadium, I think it's still called. They didn't find a sponsor, did they?
London Stadium, a bad stadium for bad people.
Yeah. And a pretty bad football team. West Ham currently, as we record, 0-0 away at Aston Villa. And you were watching some of this, and Tyrone Mings and El Ghazi were fighting.
Yeah, for Villa, there was some proper intra squad handbags going on. It was all very Wade and Archer, it was all very eye contacty, and they didn't actually start really chipping off until someone was there to separate them, which is a sure sign that you don't actually want to fight, isn't it? It looks to me like West Ham are pretty lively going forward and very vulnerable at the back from crosses in particular.
Well, in Sebastian Haller, they bought a really interesting player. Bundesliga watchers will tell you he blows a bit hot and cold, but a talented one. Already scored goals this season. So, and they binned Chicharito, who headed up to Spain in order to make way for Aller. And so they've definitely got some talent. Their results a bit mixed this season. Lost, of course, to City on the opening day. Got a real spanking there, but a couple of wins in the last 2 against Watford, who pushed Arsenal all the way at the weekend, and Norwich, who beat City at the weekend in the weekend's most hilarious result.
That's absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand how that's even possible at this point. But
I know people keep saying that City have got injuries because, they do. Merrick Laporte is obviously injured for some time, as is Leroy Sané. Norwich had about 7 players out. No one wants to mention that.
So, yeah, exactly. So that's Norwich's second string battering the hashtag best team of all time. And not even a massive XG mismatch either. You know how normally when City lose, like when City lost to Tottenham, or drew with Tottenham, that was a genuinely ridiculous thing where Tottenham basically blew on the ball near the goal twice and it went in, and City created chance after chance after chance that didn't go in. But this one, although City of course did edge the XG, it wasn't by a great deal, by about half a goal. So that one can go either way for sure.
Norwich had 3 shots on target and scored all 3 of them. So that was part of the result there. But City. A kind of interesting one because I suspect behind closed doors, I know we're diversing away from the West Ham game, but I suspect behind closed doors Guardiola was absolutely livid because there were too many defensive mistakes there, and they're going to pay a little bit, I think, for not investing in the centre half this summer. But he kind of took it well in public, but I suspect he'll be pretty angry with that team.
It's one of those where, like, if you read what Guardiola says, it always looks quite reasonable. But if you watch him say it, then his eyes look like they're on fire.
Yeah, yeah. I just did at work. I just did some training on kind of non-verbal communication, and it was horrible actually. So basically, you're put in this situation where you're stood against a white wall with like 4 cameras on you, and someone interviews you extremely aggressively, and then they play it back to you. It's 4K video, super slowed down, and freeze on all your stupid faces. So yeah, do that to Guardiola, and I think yes, you'd see the laser eyes coming out.
I'm pretty sure you don't need to do any of that. You just watch him with the sound turned down. And you're like, oh, Pep super mad. Did you learn anything interesting from that training, Ed?
That when under pressure, people stick their tongue out an awful lot.
Yeah,
it's not a good look. Gotta say, not good.
Self-soothing gesture. Did you learn
That's
anything?
why I stick to podcasting.
Did you learn anything about yourself, Ed? Learn anything about your own traits in that one?
Well, I won't repeat what the trainer actually said to me as advice, not on air. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay, all right. Oh, now I really want to know. You have to say that West Ham's the loss to City didn't really matter. The draw with Brighton, or maybe even a loss to Brighton, that's a really bad result, isn't it? In the context of this season so far. Draw with Brighton. But then a comfortable victory away at Watford, and a pretty comfy victory at home to Norwich. They're in a decent little spell of form, and they've not looked bad in this game against Villa. Villa, who kind of look all right this season, they look pretty functional and kind of interesting. And even though it's not like West Ham have created a bunch of massively clear,
are down to 10 men. Yeah, I mean, if they win, of course, they go into the top 4 and overtake us.
I've got the game on the telly behind me here, and I completely missed that they got a player sent off. So yeah, that's my good scouting working well there. The way they're approaching this game against Villa would offer me some hope for the weekend, because they're quite open and they're quite attacking, and I do maintain, and this is going to be a running theme throughout the season, that we're going to be way better against teams that come onto us than we are against teams that sit back. Because I do think our defence is much, much better than it's been for our defence is as good as it's been for a really, really, really long time now.
I mean, look, that's patently true. Yeah, the question is whether United can create enough chances. Didn't against Leicester, but West Ham at home against United always push, don't they? And maybe I'm scarred by a couple of bad experiences at West Ham.
You're gonna bring up 95, are you?
No, I'm not. But it feels like it, and maybe the results will tell us a different story over the long run. But it does feel like we get some bad results there. I'm sure the London Stadium crowd will be up for this one, even if they hate being there.
They
hate their team and hate the stadium. So
things seem to have improved considerably under Pellegrini.
They're not fighting each other in the terraces anymore.
The most recent memory, of course, of a trip to the London Stadium was one of the worst performances. I mean, without any fear of hyperbole, one of the worst performances that a 21st century Manchester United has put in anywhere. And when I say 21st century, I actually mean back to about 1989 or whatever, when things started marginally turning under Fergie. Because that 3-1 defeat, I mean, never has 3-1 flattered the losing side more. Absolutely abject. That was the McTominay Matic centre-back
That was Mourinho's cry for help. That was, please help me by giving me a £14 million payoff and sacking me right now, which should have happened directly after the game if Ed Woodward had had any real balls. But it didn't, and yes, thanks for reminding me of that one. That's probably one of those ones that's lodged in the back of my brain as a, emotionally scarring playing West Ham. So what do you think is going to happen this game? I think you probably have it right. I think West Ham will push. And we'll be open, and we'll try and pick him off, and it'll make a big difference if Paul Pogba is fit.
That's exactly
in our ability to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. To me, the answer to the question, what do I think is going to happen, is totally dependent on whether Pogba's there. I mean, in terms of our counter-attacking unit, obviously Rashford and Martial are vital to that, and Daniel James could be really important in that too. But you need Pogba feeding them, surely. That's just going to be crucial. So if Pogba is out for any length of time, I'll actually be quite fearful about this fixture. Of course, I was fearful about Leicester.
It was a minor ankle strain, so I mean, it shouldn't be a long time, but we'll see.
Yeah. So if Pogba plays, I would actually be fairly confident of United's chances. Given, I mean, this is based on watching 50 minutes of West Ham tonight, mostly, and not really paying attention to it at that. But it seems like a game that would be potentially tailor-made for Pogba, which would be lovely. So it'd be nice to see a performance where we create a good number of chances and actually win a game, because we haven't really done that much this season.
All right, predictions.
I think no Pogba. I predict a 1-1 draw, and I was weighing up a 2-1 loss there. And with Pogba, I'll go with a 2-0 win.
Ooh, I'm just going to say 1-1 because it feels like a 1-1 to me, and 4-0 against Astana based on absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion about what the score would be against Astana, not just because I've studiously decided to ignore the Europa League and not learn about our opposition until we play them. This is partly, by the way, the scars of writing previews for Bleacher Report during the Van Gaal Europa League adventure, and having to research these teams and find out stuff about them, and been pretending like I knew what I was talking about. And God, I used to have to write previews for preseason games, and they were the International Champions Cup games. And I know that because I wasn't allowed to call them preseason friendly because of Bleacher Report's sponsorship deal with the International Champions Cup. That sponsorship deal also meant that my previews appeared on the official International Champions Cup website, which I didn't know before I started writing them. So I did put a lot of effort into learning about who the San Jose Earthquake players were and what they were good at and stuff. But yeah, not having to do that anymore means I'm absolutely not going to do that this season.
Right. Okay, that's it from us this week. United lost 1-0 to Arsenal, an 89th minute winner. So bad luck to the girls there. Two heartbreaking defeats in a row. That's what happens. Got to learn those lessons as you come up to the big leagues.
But that's two results that they can take a lot out of and build a lot on. If they're going to be narrowly losing to Arsenal and City, they're going to be just fine this season.
And I thought, final word on that one. Casey Stoney, I thought was really upfront about this. She said that, look, there will be difficult times this season. We've no doubt about that, and fans need to stick by us. So, she flagged that one early that it was going to be a big step up, and so far it's proven to be.
Oh, when David Moyes says it, you don't like it.
I suspect that Casey Stoney, based on, a year's worth of evidence, is a much more talented manager than David Moyes.
Yes, I was certainly latter period David Moyes anyway. All right, so thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back with another one of these after the West Ham game, probably before the Rochdale game. It's a terrible mess with our structure, this is, these midweek games. Fortunately...
Yes, you're probably listening to our in-depth and highly researched FC Astana preview moments before the game.
Yeah, that's another reason why I studiously refuse to do any work. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.